Pokemon games. I think throughout my last 4 years of doing YouTube, one of the most highly asked questions I always get is, what is my favorite Pokemon game? And to be honest, it's really surprising how long it took me to finally make this video. I mean, with all of the videos that I've made in these past few years about Pokemon, not one of them has been about what I believe to be the greatest Pokemon game. So today, I thought I'd finally throw my hat into this debate and answer a very important question. What is the best Pokemon game? For this list, what I'll be taking into account when forming my opinion is region design, story, Pokemon designs, game mechanics, and of course, my own lasting impression of the game. And since that point factors into this very video, let me state here that this isn't an objective video, this is purely an opinion piece. Also, remakes like Fire Red and Soul Silver will not be taken into account because, well, I can make a whole nother video on the remakes. And you know your boy needs to rinse out these ideas. And finally, since there are so many Pokemon games that have been brought to us over the past 20 years, talking about each and every one of them would take hours to do. So, to save time, I have narrowed down the possible winners to just 3 contestants. If you guys enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like, subscribe, and share this video with a friend. And with that being said, let's get started. Well, if you guys saw my last rant video on the Pokemon community, you probably would have guessed that Gen 4, or more specifically Diamond and Pearl, were some of my least favorite games. But actually, that couldn't be any farther from the truth. I can recognize greatness when I see it, and Pokemon Diamond and Pearl were some very special games. The Sinnoh Region, much like the first 3 games, was based on a part of Japan, more specifically Hokkaido. Compared to the other regions on this list, the design does feel less exciting. However, it does have nice real-world comparisons. Snowpoint City, being the first place in a Pokemon game to feature snow and have snow exclusively, makes sense as it's very similar to Wakkanai in real-world Japan, which has a small population and is a port town. Other nice areas of interest include the survival, fight, and resort areas, as they stand out much more compared to other parts of the region with their tropical theme. Then we have one of the most intense looking battlefields in any Pokemon game, being Spear Pillar. Just by taking one look at it, you'll know something serious is about to go down. And region design isn't the only great thing about these games. The amount of amazingly awesome new Pokemon introduced in Gen 4 is actually mind-boggling. Garchomp, Staraptor, Luxray, Drapion, Lucario, Rotom, Krogunk, I can go on for days. Not to mention, this generation brought about a bevy of evolutions to old Pokemon that turned them from awful or not as good design-wise and competitively to absolute beasts. I'm talking Weavile, Electivire, Magnezone, Magmortar, and to a lesser extent, Rhyperior and Dusknoir. And speaking of new things added, Gen 4 probably brought about some of the best mechanical changes to the entire Pokemon franchise. Of course, the most important among them has to be the physical special split, which we all know was the right thing to do and made the game just a whole lot better. But there's also some other great mechanics added in these games. We got Wi-Fi battles, the Pokétch, which was useful for a bevy of reasons, the GTS, they built upon the Pokemon contest to make it better, and of course the underground mining. Now of course not all of them were complete bangers, but some of them are vital now to the Pokemon franchise. Story-wise, it's kind of a tricky one, because while I do think Diamond and Pearl's story was pretty good, there's also been some storylines from other games that's been, well, better. First of all, Barry is a great rival. I think he encapsulates what it means to be that very word amazingly well. He's annoying, he's strong, and he pushes you to become a better trainer. He was a big step up from last generation's May and Brendan, and he really reminded us of what a good rival can be. Not to mention, Cynthia is by far one of the toughest battles you'll ever face in a Pokemon game. Team Galactic, while having some very interesting characters and tough adversaries, was to me not as great as I remembered. Cyrus, the leader of Galactic, had a very dumb and childish end goal. Basically, to sum it up in short, he didn't like the world he was living in because of the fact that we have emotions. So he wanted to wipe out the entire universe and rebuild it in his own image. Honestly, how can anybody want to co-sign with that? It's ludicrous. And admittedly, I don't think most people even knew what was actually going on, as Saturn, who is a commander in the organization, admits that he has no idea what's going on. That's actually f***ing dumb. But on the other side of the spectrum, Cyrus, even with his childlike ideologies and clear god complex, is still a very interesting character and brings up a solid point of whether or not human emotions hold us back. He's just such a mysterious guy that I just wish we knew more about him. I always wondered what drove him to have such extreme thoughts. All in all, if you add up all the factors, I honestly believe you have a very solid game here, but is that enough for me to call it the best? Alright, so this next Pokemon game that could potentially be labeled as the best Pokemon game, I may get a little flack for. Pokemon Black and White at the time of its release in 2010 was, for lack of a better word, completely shitted on. I think you guys get the gist of it. Pokemon were trash, we couldn't catch Pokemon from other generations, and the region design was too linear. And while I do hate me some Unpheasant, and I will concede that the region can be a bit linear, I think the generation got a lot of unfair criticism. I mean, there's people going around and saying that these games are the worst in the series. Now, to me, that may seem just a tad bit unfair. Let's take a look at the Pokemon. Like I said before, Generation 5 did create some duds like Unpheasant, Kling, and Garbodor, but duds come in every region. And to be fair, we also got some amazing Pokemon as well. Hydreigon, Zekrom, Darmanitan, Scrafty, Bisharp, Braviary, Krookodile, Zoroark, I mean, need I say more? And when going through all of the Gen 5 Pokemon, the only ones I can genuinely say I dislike are Unpheasant, the Elemental Monkeys, and Audino. To me, the pros far outweigh the cons. And as for the linear region, yes, that is a problem, but I think Game Freak more than makes up for that fact with an actual amazing region design. Pokemon Black and White take advantage of the DS hardware and create more dynamic environments with voxels compared to the previous generation. The best example of this is Castelia City, being based on Manhattan. It really gives the player a good sense of scale with many tall buildings and people, which may make you feel claustrophobic at first, but in the end will make you want to explore everything it has to offer. Other areas of interest would be Liberty Garden, being of course based on Liberty Island, Nimbasa City giving the fun boardwalk feeling with all of the theme park attractions, and the new Black and White 2 locations of Black City and White Forest. Even the more unnatural desert area felt very fitting in this region. In total, I think the region design deserves a definite A+. Now, as for mechanics, this to me is where Black and White lacks the most. While yes, they did introduce some awesome features to the series like triple and rotation battles, Join Avenue, the challenge mode, among many other things, but none of these were that groundbreaking, at least to the extent of a physical special split. But honestly, that was to be expected because these games were coming off the back of Diamond and Pearl, which already brought about massive changes to the series. But to me, this is almost completely negated because of the fact that these games, specifically Black and White, had had one of the most compelling stories in the entire franchise. Team Plasma, in my opinion, is by far the best evil team in the entire franchise, because out of all of the teams to have come by, their cause is actually something I believe people would fight for. Challenging the ideals of how the Pokemon world works by questioning whether or not it's right to make Pokemon battle is a truly compelling cause. It brings up the topic of whether what we do is some form of slavery or if we're just partners. Now sure, it was all just smoke and mirrors, but that's what made the evil team evil. Because the cause itself isn't evil at all, the organization just wanted Pokemon to be treated equally. Getsus using this cause to manipulate everyone into doing what he wants is something only a truly evil person would do, and that is perfect for this game. And to add to this already amazing evil team, we also have, in my opinion, the best and most well-developed character in N. To me, this guy was my rival, not Charon or Bianca. He not only challenged me to become a better trainer, but also challenged my ideals and way of life. Because he was at the forefront of this whole slavery movement. It was honestly beautiful to see such great storytelling and character development when watching N grow as a person. His heart was always in the right place, but he forgot to see that the trainer and Pokemon have a bond shared between them. That's why they battle, because they're partners, they trust each other, and they're willing to do things for each other. Hard pause on that. And it was honestly great to see N finally realize his errors and truly develop as a character. Black and White had the best story. Lastly, we have the most recent entry into the Pokemon franchise being Sun and Moon, as well as Ultra Sun and Moon. First, I need to mention that these games are very beautiful. Game Freak really pushed the 3DS to the max when making these games. In addition to just looking pretty, Alola took very excellent advantage of the unique real-world environments that places like Hawaii and the Galapagos offer. One downside though would have to be the more linearity in terms of exploration compared to some of the previous titles. However, that doesn't take too much away from the areas themselves. Each island has many new Pokemon unique to them, which is very cleverly tied into Darwin's theory of evolution, which personally makes me feel even more immersed in each area as you begin to guess and see why Pokemon look and evolve the way they do. And the Ultra games improved on that idea by adding more fun areas like Pikachu Valley, surfing areas, Ultra Space / Megalopolis, and there are so many other interesting places like the man-made Aether Paradise, the abandoned Thrifty Megamart, Verdant Cave, the Team Skull-infested Po Town, which really makes you wonder what it was like before you took it over, among many other great areas. I could go on forever about all of the unique and fun places in Alola, but that would make the video way too long. But since we are on the topic of graphical advancements, we also have to talk about the mechanics brought about in the new generation. To be honest, there was a lot of new game-changing mechanics brought into these games. Some I love, and others not so much. The good, of course, has to be things like the removal of HMs, the Ultra Beast, and of course, regional variants. But on the other hand, these games also brought about some pretty not so good features. Battle Royale was a big disappointment, shiny hunting methods decreased, and most importantly, there were no gyms. Listen, I welcome the idea of change and all, but this was way too far in my opinion. Now in terms of the Pokemon, Alola easily has the most unique assortment of any region in my opinion. With Alola being based on a region in the world that has some of the most unique animals, Game Freak had to take up the task of creating equally crazy yet amazing looking Pokemon. We have Bruxish, Golisopod, Drampa, Toxapex, Palossand, Salazzle, even Dhelmise. And those are just some of the regular Pokemon out there. We also have an amazing concept with Alolan forms, breathing new life into old Pokemon, with quite a few of them being better than the originals. And of course, I have to mention the Ultra Beasts. I get that some people don't like them because they're weird looking or they don't look like Pokemon, but that's kind of the point. They're from different dimensions, so naturally they would look different from what we know Pokemon to be. But even when you don't consider that, I just don't understand how people can dislike Guzzlord or Blacephalon. These are honestly top tier designs. Moving on, we need to also talk about the story. Both the originals and the Ultra versions have one of the best and surprisingly dark stories in the series to date. We're led to believe through most of the game that the Aether Foundation are the good guys, trying to protect the Pokemon in the region. But in reality, they're the ones causing turmoil in Alola, as they try to further Lusamine's plan of opening a wormhole to another dimension so that she can meet the Ultra Beast she is so grossly obsessed with. But the absolute best part comes from Lusamine's daughter, Lily. Lily was a very timid girl who had been manipulated by her mother for so long, but she was able to finally run away from her. Eventually, she would have the courage to not only stand up to her mother, but also willing to forgive and save her, even after she pushed her away. This is just grade A character development and storytelling, which is only really rivaled by N in Pokemon Black and White. Now, I do have to say, the originals definitely had the better story, as a lot of the character development was sacrificed in order to squeeze in the Necrozma plot. But the trade-off was for an absolutely badass final boss battle, so if you don't really care about the story and characters too much, then that probably works out better for you. All in all, the Gen 7 games, while not without their flaws, are very amazing entries in the franchise and absolutely deserve their contendership for the best game. Now, before we go into the answer of which Pokemon game is the best, let me say here that all of these Pokemon games that I mentioned are very, very good games. All three have things that they shine best at, and at the same time have things that they also lack in. And when adding everything up together, it really comes down to what you value most in a video game. Is it having the best graphics and visuals, bringing the best Pokemon and mechanics, or is it having the best possible story? And for me personally, storytelling and character development has to be the most important thing for a video game. And that is why I have to go with Pokemon Black and White being the best Pokemon game. I know they have some faults to them, but to me, with all of the amount of amazing Pokemon, awesome cities and areas, and of course a great story, it has to be number one for me. It honestly was a really close race between all three of these games, but the cons of Gen 4 and Gen 6 were just too much to go unnoticed. Diamond and Pearl are great games, but the story just can't hold up to the other two. Sun and Moon doesn't have that problem, but changes like removing gyms really hurts this game in the long run for me. So in summation, that's it. The best Pokemon game of all time to me is Pokemon Black and White. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like and let me know in the comments section below. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel and become an Eryizo today. If you want to check out the previous video I did, be sure to click the annotation on the left. If you want to see more Pokemon Let's Go videos, click the other annotation on the right. And with that being said, I will see you guys next time.